All right, Jeff, I won't be a newscaster. Apologies for my professionalism. But you know what's not professional?
You had YouTube voice.
Do you know what's not professional? It's friggin' background. Which looks ridiculous.
People should complain some more.
I hope more people complain about our plain background.
Yeah.
It's not done. Hello everyone, welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about
board games.
And
board gaming things.
Exactly. The time has come.
It's here.
It is the day.
Yep.
We are talking about, objectively, the best games in the whole wide world.
Objectively.
Objectively, that's right. I have a list of 10, and Jeff also objectively has a list of 10. And so if you disagree with these, well, you must be wrong.
Correct. That is correct.
That's correct. It just is what it is. I can't help it. This is a profession that we've chosen to become experts in. Anyways, we're here to do our top 10 board games of all time. Before we jump into it, I do want to mention we're going to have more information of this later on in the video, but this video also comes with a giveaway. Now, our friends over at All Play have a Kickstarter that's launching. Everything's going to be in the description below that you need, but they are launching 3 new games. We have Twinkle Twinkle, we have Waddle, and Merchants of Andromeda. And they are giving, through us, to you, an all-in pledge.
A lot of hand
Through
motions.
us, to you, all in. We'll have more details about it later on in the video, so stay tuned for that. But I say...
Good day. Good afternoon.
I say that we jump into those top 10, shall we? If you're interested in hearing further on,
51 to 70.
51 to 70, you can
Join
join
our
our Patreon. Links in the description below. But today we're doing 10. I get to start because Jeff started the last list.
You did.
Ah, drats. Okay, Jeff gets to start because I started the last list.
My number 10 is a IP-based.
Okay, I know what it is.
IP-based Journey Through Space.
Yep, it is.
And that is Star Wars Rebellion.
Yes, it was your number 3 last year.
Star Wars Rebellion is Star Wars in a box. The original Star Wars in a box. One person is playing as the Empire. One person is playing as the Rebellion. And you are trying to complete your own secret objectives. Well, I guess not so secret. The Empire is trying to find the Rebel base and destroy it. The Rebels are trying to survive long enough to not allow that to happen.
Correct.
Effectively. I love this game. I've talked about it a bunch on this channel. I'm really interested in trying the expansion, which apparently improves.
It improves.
Improves combat. I love this game. I love the IP. I love Star Wars, and I think this is just. I'm just sad that it took me so long to play it, and that we don't get to play it enough.
Yeah.
Because I love it.
I do think we need to make time just to make it an annual play.
Sure.
You just have to relearn it a little bit, but honestly, it wasn't that bad. You can watch a video of Rodney reading the rule book.
You can.
If you would like. That lives on the internet. My number 10 was my number 24 last year. What a jump.
That is a jump.
What a jump. And that is Calico.
Oh, yeah, fair.
I just love Calico. Calico...
We rediscovered it.
We did. And I have played it solo now and everything. And Calico is just one of the most brain-burny goodness games where you are playing out, you're making a blanket to attract the cats. The cats love the patterns. They can't see the colors. They don't care about the colors, but they love the patterns. So you're trying to satisfy different patterns for different cats in order to score points. And at the same time, there are different objectives that you're trying to achieve within your own board. And the problem is that you almost never can get everything done, no matter how hard you try, even though you really want to.
Facts.
I love it. I have gotten everything done before a couple times, and it feels really good. So Calico is just, I feel like this for me is just a staple in my life and in my collection. It will never go anywhere, that's for sure. And I can't see it leaving the top 50. You can also now play a digital version of it.
Sure can.
Which I think is so funny because I watch some cozy video game people and they're like, oh, this puzzle game. I'm like, it's a board game.
That's true, yeah.
I do that all the time. It's crazy. Anyways, I love Calico. I just think it's Perfect.
My number 9, I heard it.
Okay.
My number 9 is probably the one that's going to get the most heat in the comments.
Because
because the army of you can't possibly like new games this much. The army of curmudgeons. The army of curmudgeons will come out on this one.
The internet.
Screaming about overhyped.
The internet goblins will come out.
Yeah, the internet goblins. My number 9 is Arcs. Leader Games is, I think, my 1B favorite publisher, and you'll see why as I go through my top 10. Arcs is one of the best gaming experiences I've had in a while. Now, that being said, I pretty much have only played Arcs with the same group of guys I would play Root with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is key. That is a key variable into my enjoyment of Arcs, is playing with that group of guys. Arcs is area control with a small DNA of trick taking. In this game, you're going to be moving around ships to these areas in order to control them. What I love most about Arcs is at any point, people can kind of blow things up and score a bunch of points, which Jamie did to me in a 2-player game. So there's not really there's asymmetry in how the game flows, which I think is really, really unique and something I love asymmetry in games in general, but usually asymmetry applies to a faction or a player ability.
Mm-hmm.
But the asymmetry in this game is baked into the DNA of how the game plays out. So you can have these these moments of the game where it's we're going to score this now. We're going to score this section of the game now.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know when you can have some idea of when that's going to happen, but you don't really know. And people can just burst score. And I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that probably a lot of people wouldn't like that, but I love it. I love not knowing what's going to happen and the things just go completely sideways. I love Arcs. I'm looking forward to playing it more, and it'll just continue to be in my top 10, I think.
I really enjoyed it. I've only played it once.
Mm-hmm.
I think this game has been very divisive among people, and the people who don't like it seem to be really mad about it, about the people who do like it, which I don't understand.
Here's what I think is interesting.
Yeah.
If you don't like something, that doesn't mean everyone that does like it is wrong.
Revolutionary comment there, Jeff. My number 9 is a new game to me this year. A new game to the list. Jeff talked about it in a previous video, that is the Prodigals Club. I love everything about this game. Yeah. I think this game is so unique in terms of the theme, in terms of the board, because it's a bunch of triangles, which I think is really interesting for some reason. And when Nick first laid it out on the table, I was like, what's going on?
Let's be clear.
What?
It's cut in triangles. It's not just a bunch of triangles.
Well, they all connect. Anyways, I think it's really interesting. But in this game, you are trying to be the worst version of yourself, and each section of the board is going to be a different way that you score points. So you're going to parties, you're being loud, even though your grandma's talking you up. Classic grandma. You're trying to lose an election. You're trying to downgrade all of your possessions. You are doing all of these things because you just want to be horrible. And I think that theme is so funny and it's so clever and I love it. And not to mention the gameplay is also really fun. You're placing out your workers in order to take the actions, to take the steps to be a terrible person. I have such a great time every time that we play this. I want to play it more. We do have the Last Will, which can be included in this game or played on its own. It's almost like a stripped down version of the Prodigals Club. And I can only see this game going up in my list because I just think it's fantastic.
I would agree. My number 8 is a game in an IP that is my favorite IP of all time.
It's new to the list as well.
And it is Lord of the Rings: The Confrontation.
Oh, no, it's not. Oh, that was your number 13 last year.
Lord of the Rings: The Confrontation is a Stratego-based Lord of the Rings game. One person is going to be playing as Sauron and his forces. One person is playing as the Fellowship, who is trying to get Frodo to Mount Doom to drop in the ring. Sauron is trying to find Frodo and kill him, or get a certain amount of characters to the Shire. This is played through kind of just, if you played Stratego, you can only ever move forward in this game, and each character is kind of hidden from each other. So you're going to be moving these characters strategically around the board, and once once of each faction is in a space, they're going to reveal themselves and fight. Each character has slight asymmetry. They have their own cards. You have battle cards you can play. There's magic cards. And they're different depending on which character you're playing as. I absolutely adore the confrontation. I don't know how to feel about the new version that's coming out. I think...
We've recently seen the art choices.
Yeah.
Sorry, the art choices.
I'm not going to speak to that. I'm just happy I have the original, which also... Like, it's got this really cool nostalgic vibe to it. Like, that feels like old Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the art feels like old Tolkien, and it just, I don't know. But anyway, Lord of the Rings: The Confrontation is one I'll play anytime anyone ever wants to set it up and play it. It's so fun and so quick, and I adore it.
I don't know why, but when you were describing it, it just made me think, imagine in Lord of the Rings if they just walked backwards the whole time. They bumped into each other, and they're like, ah!
Oops.
They're like, it's you!
Like Frodo backing into the spider.
Yeah, exactly. My number 8 was my number 5 last year, and that is Too Many Bones. I love Too Many Bones. We got to play it a bunch this year because we've been playing through, we have all of the gear locks now, and we're playing through all of them with the ultimate goal of ranking all of the gear locks. And we were traveling so much we couldn't get through everything.
Correct.
But basically, Too Many Bones is a RPG style game where each player is playing as a gearlock who plays in its own special way, and everything is done with dice and dice manipulation. You are going on a journey in order to fight baddies with the objective of finally getting to the big baddie that you have to defeat. It is very difficult, especially at 2 players, which is what we play it at. Apparently, it is the most difficult player count to do it because everything scales, essentially, based on your player count. But I love it. I just think it's so much fun. And part of that is because I love chucking dice. Yeah. And I love, it has these big moments and it has these big disappointments. My only gripe with this game is the lock picking. I hate it. I'd rather just not have any treasure. I just don't want to do it. I think that it's
complicated.
It's just more complicated
and very
than it
difficult.
Needs to be. Yeah, I don't like it.
Very
I'd rather
difficult
just
to achieve a success.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. My number 7 is it might be my second most played game of all time, and definitely the one I've introduced to the most people since I've been in the hobby, and that is Res Arcana.
So number 12 last year.
Res Arcana, I played. Oh man, it might have been my most played game last year over Root, which is crazy.
73.
Res Arcana is a straight engine builder where you are going to you're going to get a set of cards to start the game, and that is what you have to build your engine around. There's going to be a randomization of places of power that are your main ways of scoring victory points. You're going to have a hand of artifacts, and you're going to have a mage, and you can pick one of 2 mages to start the game. Your mage, your artifacts, and the places of power that are put out in front of you are put out for everyone, is the engine you need to build around. And you need to figure out the strategy around how to build that engine. And I just love this game. I've now played it with all 3 expansions. Every time I play Res Arcana, I feel like, how can I still play this game and not be sick of it? And I just constantly refresh. I don't think there's a limit of how many times I can play this game.
The limit does not exist.
The limit does not exist. And I've gone on stretches of losing this game consistently. I play against my friend Charlie, and I've never beaten him. I mean, I think he's 20-0 against me right now, and I still love it. I'll still play it. And I can't say enough good things about Res Arcana.
It's a great game. Loves it. Okay, my number 7 was my number 9 last year, and this has always been on my top 50. In the very first year that we did this, it was my number 3. And the reason why this is once again starting to climb back up the list.
I'm not looking. I'm zoning out in your general direction.
The reason why this has started to climb back up the list is because we've been getting it to the table more, and that is Mansions of Madness, 2nd edition. This is always going to be one of my favorite games. We got this game when we first kind of started in with content creation, and I've loved it ever since. So this is a Cthulhu-based game with an app component where you are going on there's different scenarios, essentially different missions, and you are going to have different objectives to achieve in each of those scenarios. You're playing as different characters who have certain skills, are good at some things and not good at other things, and you're investigating, you have to do skill checks, and you have to fight a bunch of baddies and cultists that appear out of nowhere. It's very difficult, but it's very fun, and I personally love the app because it sets the tone, it sets the atmosphere for this game. We recently got another expansion for it, and I just want to keep playing it because I just think it's so much fun.
Agreed.
So, Mansions of Madness is probably always going to be, I know not last year but the year before, it slipped out of my top 10 because we hadn't played it like at all. But I think it belongs in my top 10, if nothing else, for the nostalgia of it all.
Yeah, and I think like too, we had the same base game and expansion forever, and we played it over and over and over and over again. So.
And the last few times that we have played it, it's always been the first like scenario because we've been showing it to new people, and so I'd like to get back into playing more of the actual game.
Yeah, and having some new investigators and stuff. My number 6, I think, is a game that, if I remember correctly, was starting to fall, but with a new digital implementation of this game, it's come skyrocket right back up, and that is Dune Imperium.
That was number 10 last year.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, not skyrocketing back up, but it's coming back up. Dune Imperium is a worker placement deck builder game set in the Dune world where you are effectively racing to 10 points. And you're doing that through manipulating faction tracks, through card play, and strategizing based off of slight variable player powers that you have when you start the game. Dune Imperium is by far my favorite in that evolving genre of deck builder / worker placement that we seem to be in amidst of right now. And I'm very happy that the digital implementation is as good as it is.
Right.
I very much appreciate it from like a technical perspective as well as just the gameplay. The digital implementation of Dune Imperium is incredible in my opinion. But I've got to play it more because it's not a game that Jamie and I really sit down to play a ton of.
I would like to.
But I'm hoping to play it more when you know.
Probably not as good at 2, eh?
No, if some friends move and we have a bigger game group. But yeah, I love Dune Imperium. I really like the expansion stuff that I'm starting to explore now. Yeah, it's great.
My number 6 was my number 3 last year, and that is Wonderland's War. Another one that I can see just kind of chilling in my top 10 because, is that not on your list?
To my top 100.
Interesting. So Wonderland's War is a game that's just going to kind of be in my top 10 because I love this game. And we have played it a lot at 2 players, and there's quite a few people that are like, I don't think it's good at 2. We enjoy it at 2. It's not optimal at 2. I want to play it with more people, but I also love it at 2. I love everything about this game. I think the bag building is really fun because I love push your luck, and I love how the push your luck bag building is ingrained in the fighting. It's got area control.
Jamie doesn't have luck though when she does push your luck. She just keeps drawing.
I just keep going. Deal or no deal. No deal. I'm going to keep going until I
She literally plays can't stop.
Yeah.
Every time.
Can't stop. Won't stop.
Yeah. Jamie's mantra is won't stop.
Exactly. And I love this game. I think it's beautiful. Its
all
table presence is
it's an experience.
out of this. It's an experience.
For sure, yeah.
Yes. And I just think it's a magical game. I love it so much. I interrupt this top 10 list for an ad from today's sponsor, All Play. Get ready to shoot for the stars with All Play's latest Kickstarter. All Play is coming in hot with 3 new games that are fun, fast, and packed with strategy. First up, we have Twinkle Twinkle, a 30-minute tile-laying adventure for 2 to 4 players where you'll draft transparent tiles, connect constellations, and discover the universe's wonders while dodging those pesky black holes. Unless, yes, that's right, everything's gonna be fine because we have a perfect space for them. There's always room for a black hole in space. That's space facts. Science. Then we have Waddle, the penguin-packed game for 2 to 5 players that takes just 15 minutes to play. Did you know that a group of penguins on the ice is called a waddle? Well, now you do. In this game, you'll place penguins to claim fish and score points. You'll have to manipulate the game's turn order system cleverly. That's tracked by marbles, which penguins love. And if you didn't know that, now you know that too. And finally, Merchants of Andromeda, the 3 to 5 player epic where space politics meets action-packed auctions. I love a good space auction. It's where I get all of my best meteors. You'll have to play the game of space politics, casting votes in the Senate, bidding on lucrative space goods, or restoring to ship combat, all to become the richest merchant in the galaxy, which is my personal life goal. So this game is basically my life story. The more you know. This game is going to feature an app, real-time elements, and it is going to be a wild ride. Everything you need is going to be linked in the description below as always. Oh, and don't forget to stay until the end of this video to find out how to enter our giveaway to win an all-in pledge for this Kickstarter.
All right, number 5 is another new to me game.
Ooh.
And another game set in the Dune universe. And that is Dune War for Arrakis. And I feel like people are going to be like, oh, you have all these new games. I mean, here's the thing.
And?
These are the types of games I love the most, and you'll see that in my top 10. I love Troops on a Map war games. I love the Dune IP. I read the book before this. I read the book when I was a kid, like before this resurgence of the Dune IP happened. You know, I've been a Dune fan for a very long time, and War for Arrakis lets me play out the war that exists in Dune in a 1v1 war game. And I love that. It's got a beautiful table presence. It's got beautiful miniatures. And it's just a blast. One person is playing as House Harkonnen, and the other, well, House Harkonnen / Emperor, whatever. And then one is playing as Paul and Jessica, as well as the Fremen. And it's kind of like one person is trying to find all of the sieges and where they are and uncover them and destroy them. While the Fremen are basically trying to destroy the infrastructure of getting spice and action economy. What's really unique in this game is as the Fremen start to pick away at the resource management of the other faction, the Harkonnens, they're losing their action economy. So they'll start with a bunch of actions they can take. But as you pick away at that, they're losing dice.
Right.
And those dice are how they take action. So the longer you pick away, and you have these secret objectives that you're trying to achieve, and as soon as you achieve those objectives, you win the game.
Right.
It's so good. I really think you would like it. I really think you would like this genre of game. We just need to get them tabled. But yeah, I very much like Dune War for Arrakis, and I want to play more of it, and I think it's a perfect game for me.
The problem for me is that I don't know the Dune world. I haven't even seen the full first movie.
I don't think necessarily. I mean, yes, I think it would be important. We should watch the movies.
Right. My number 5 is a new to me game this year. New to the list.
Gonna get the trolls out. Trolls
Come
are coming.
on, goblins. Come at me.
That's a better
This
term.
game is perfect. This is my most played game of the year, with the exception of my number 1
Distilled.
game. It is Distilled.
Mm-hmm.
I love. This is a perfect game. This is perfect. It's a Kanbani game.
It's very good.
If you remember, Kanbani means everything that you do just makes sense. So Distilled is from Paverson Games. It was their debut game.
Yeah.
Bravo. So basically, in this game, you are making different kinds of alcohol so that you can sell it, so you can make money, so you can score points, so you can win. And everything in this game makes sense because, like, thematically, everything you do is kind of what you would do as you're actually distilling. So you have to scrape from the top and scrape from the bottom because of poison and stuff. And you're gathering different ingredients. You're going to the market. You're upgrading your distillery. You're hiring specialists. You're getting fancier bottles, which that also introduces a set collection element into the game. And once again, there is a little bit of push your luck in this game. So you're getting all your ingredients for all your sugars, you're throwing in some alcohol, shuffling it up, take the top, take the bottom, see what's left. And I have so much fun playing this game because of that.
Yep.
Jeff always pulls out the stuff that he needs, which personally I find hilarious.
It's ridiculous, man.
I also think that there are so many different strategies that you can try in this game. So maybe you are going for just a bunch of aged stuff. Or maybe every round you want to sell something quick and make a lot of money.
You could just do moonshine the whole time.
You could just do moonshine, unless you're Rodney. He tried to make moonshine every single round. Never made it.
Yep.
Never made it. Anyways, I love this game. We have the expansion. I'm so excited for Cocktails, the new Cocktails version. And I'm just excited to see what else Paverson Games does, because this is it's just a perfect game. And if you haven't played it, I highly encourage you to. It's on Board Game Arena. I have played it solo. I did a solo mode for it over on Board Game Geek if you're interested in watching it, but I cannot express how much I love this game.
Yeah, I've
Jeff and I played the other day. Guess what? Crushed him. Remember that?
Yeah. I do not win very frequently.
That's me crushing the grapes.
My number 4 is a game Jamie's already talked about, and it's been in my top 5, I think, since I started, or since I played it, effectively. And that is Vast Crystal Caverns.
Oh, it was your number 9 last year.
Was it? Oh, I think that's the only year it fell out of my top 5 then.
It was your number 7 the year before. And your number 4 the year before that.
Okay. Vast Crystal Caverns is a very asymmetrical game where each person has their own objective to ultimately beat another person. And if they do that, they win the game. Unless, as Jamie mentioned earlier in another video, unless someone's playing as the Cave, which is I need to destroy everyone. Or as the Ghost, which is the 5th player. There's a couple expansion characters that we just got that are like super rare Kickstarter edition stuff, like a unicorn and then something else that we haven't played as. But Vast Crystal Caverns is as mean as a game as you can play within the confines of understanding that it's a mean game, if that makes any sense.
I gotta kill you.
You have to be mean in this game because your sole objective is to destroy someone. For example, whoever plays as a knight, their sole objective is to defeat the dragon. If someone is playing as a dragon, their sole objective is to defeat the goblins, and so on and so forth. It's incredible. I absolutely love this game, and every time we have played it, it's been an absolute one of the best gaming experiences.
Yeah,
it's so good. And if you like this type of game and you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. I think it's a little bit difficult to find nowadays, but if you do find a copy, I think it's amazing.
My number 4 was my number 50 last year. It was a new entry to the list last year.
Wow.
When you hear it,
wow,
Jeff, I don't know if you knew this, but I did it all for the hooky.
Oh.
The what? The
yeah.
hooky.
Okay.
The what? Hooky.
I didn't.
Hooky.
4. You know what? Kudos to you, man. That's great.
This game,
I love that you love it.
This is one of my obviously one of my favorite games of all time. I never don't have fun playing this game. This is the best. This is the best deduction game.
You do love playing that game.
This is the best deduction game that's ever been created, in my personal opinion, and nobody talks about it.
No, this is an objective list. It's not your personal opinion.
That's right.
It's
objective.
Yeah.
Now, it was number 50 last year because I had literally just played it.
Yes, correct.
And I was like, whoa, what just happened? So, in hooky, you are trying to determine which 3 children are playing hooky from school. There are 26 children, 1 for each letter of the alphabet, and depending on player count, everybody is going to have a hand of cards. So that might be 4 cards, 5 cards, 6 cards that have different kids. So you know, well, these guys, these little guys are in class. They're not playing hooky. And there's also 3 kids in the playground, and those are going to be revealed to help you deduce. And how it works is you're going to be asking people around the table a 5-letter word, which is the hardest part of this game.
It's
thinking of a 5-letter word. You're going to ask them a 5-letter word, and they have to then tell you how many times do the letters in that word appear in their hand. So not only are you trying to determine which kids are playing hooky, you're also trying to determine what cards everybody else has. This game could be renamed Leaps in Logic. Because
I don't do leaps in logic. Not like you.
I do. It's like, oh, well, Jeff said this, so he definitely doesn't have this letter.
What's infuriating is you make leaps in logic and you're right. I hate it.
So I have played a couple perfect games of this where I've gotten everything, and it's very rewarding. And I have played games where I've gotten like nothing, and you're like, what do you mean you don't have the R? And then this is also a game where you can make one tiny mistake and ruin it for everybody, which has happened in numerous games that I've played. But it's always fun. And this game just kind of like silently came out. And I bought it because I was like, oh, it's a game about kids in school. And Emily's visiting and she's a teacher.
Yeah.
She'll love it.
I bought it on a whim.
And it's the best decision I've ever made because this game is phenomenal.
I will say that game does, when you win that game, it feels really good. You feel real smart.
I'll probably bring it to Level Up because I got to play it at Level Up last year. I will play this game whenever I have the opportunity to play it. Like anytime someone comes over and Jeff's like, well, you could show them Hooky, and I already have it off the shelf as he's talking because I love it.
My number 3 is a game that I think has been in my top 2 for at least 2 or 3 years. It is the highest GMT game on my list. And I feel like it's been number 2 for...
It was number 2 last year. It was number 6 the year before.
Okay.
We didn't play it the year before that.
Okay. It was my number 2 last year, but it has fallen out of the top 2. And that is Cuba Libre. Cuba Libre is a asymmetrical war game based around the Cuban Revolution. Each person is going to be playing as one of the factions that was involved at that time. There is the government, there is the syndicate, which is basically the mob, there is the Directorio, which was the student movement, and then there is the July 26th, which was Fidel Castro and his rebels, effectively. Each person has their own objective threshold that they need to meet in this game, and they're going to be doing that through unique event-based card play. So it is a coin game. Effectively, what is going to happen is, I say effectively a lot. That person commented that, I saw it, and now I cannot unhear it. You're going to have a card that's going to be placed out, and there's a bunch of different things you can do on your turn. You can play, depending if it's your initiative or not. You can use the event and trigger the event. You can take a operation action, which is basically take an action and do something, and everyone has their own list of actions they can take. And then there's special actions that you can take depending on where the initiative falls and that sort of thing. It's amazing. I love it. We've pretty much only gotten a chance to play this asynchronously. We did get a chance to play it 2-player at Circle DC.
We played it at BGG Con.
Oh, yes, we did play it at BGG Con.
You played
well,
twice.
I didn't.
You played with me, though. Me, you, Charlie,
Doesn't
and Mike.
matter. I played it once at BGG Con, and I've taught, like, kind of sat on the side and helped.
Taught it. Yeah.
I love Cuba Libre. I think it's incredible. It's my favorite coin game and my favorite GMT game, and I think it's always going to be in my top 5 somewhere.
It's amazing. I also love it.
Not enough.
Not enough. Okay, my number 3 was my number 4 last year. This game is probably just going to hover around this area for a while, and that is Marvel Champions.
Really?
Yeah. So Marvel Champions, and I did a solo mode on it as well. Now, Marvel Champions is it called a living card game?
I never, yeah.
Living,
yeah, LCD,
because there's, yeah. So basically, you are playing as a different Marvel hero, and you are trying to overcome a villain. And that is done through card play. And basically, what I love about this is that your cards are your resources. So in order to play something out, you got to get rid of something. You have to like manage your hand really well. It's very difficult because the villains do be villain.
They be doing villain stuff.
And they're always coming at you.
And scheming.
And they're scheming and you're thwarting and there's all of this stuff that's going on. I love it. I am a huge Marvel fan. I love Marvel. I rewatch all of the Marvel movies pretty much every year. Love it. This game, I love to play solo because somebody else doesn't like it. I don't get it.
It's not, listen, I think the problem is I've always played as Iron Man.
The last time we played...
Was that Jubilee?
No, you've played a Spider Ham.
Yeah, he wasn't great.
No, he's not that great. So I've got a bunch of characters.
I gotta find a character I like.
Well, I recently got a lot of the X-Men characters, and I think I got Gambit for you.
Yep.
And I can play as Rogue.
Yep.
And that just makes sense to me.
It does.
But if you're wondering, I typically do play this solo, and I do play it with one character and not two, because there's just way too much to manage in this game.
Fair.
So, anyways, I love Marvel Champions. One of the things I hope to do this year as I kind of stream on the channel more as I'm full-time, I might, stream Marvel. I might pick a game like Marvel Champions and just do that for a while.
You should.
Just so that I can have an excuse to get it to the table more.
My number 2 is a not new game, but a new to me game last year. And it is, again, based off of my favorite IP. And I have Nick over at the Brothers Murph to thank for finally playing this game. And immediately skyrocketed to my top 2. That's War of the Ring. War of the Ring is a Lord of the Rings IP troops on a map game where one person is playing as a fellowship, and they're basically playing a hidden movement type game where they're trying to move Frodo and the fellowship through the land to Mount Doom. And then one person is playing as Sauron and his forces, and they're basically just trying to do an area control type mechanism where they're just trying to take over a bunch of strongholds. It's done through kind of dice action selection, similar to Dune War for Arrakis, with some card play, depending on battling and that sort of thing. But I luckily got to play this in, I think, the perfect environment. I got to play it with one of my best friends. He had painted everything.
And he knows the game really well.
He knows the game really well. We played it on this table and had Lord of the Rings music playing.
With red lights.
It was a full experience, and I'll never forget it. And I just wish... This is a game I wish I could just leave set up somewhere. And we just played it once every couple months or something, because it's just so good. And I freaking just love Lord of the Rings so much. And it's Lord of the Rings in a board game.
I would way rather this one to Dune War for Arrakis, because I love Lord of the Rings and I don't know anything about Dune.
And I feel like there might be, I just want to caveat this quickly, because I feel like there's going to be some comments being what are the differences between the two? Which one would you recommend? And I would just say go with whatever IP you like more, because Dune War for Arrakis, I think, extrapolates out on War of the Ring. They both live harmoniously. They both play differently. So I don't think it's one or the other in this instance. It's basically whatever one you prefer, because they do have different mechanisms and different IPs and stuff. But I just want to address that because I feel like it's going to come up in the comments.
My number 2 was my number 2 last year. Jeff already made this joke, but I'll make it. I'm freaking obsessed with this game. And that is Obsession. I love Obsession. I've loved it since the first time that we've played it. It is such a unique game.
Yes.
We haven't played anything else that's quite like this. So basically, in Obsession, you are a fancy British family. You already got points for me there. And what you're doing is you are building out your estate. Maybe you want to add a little bit of lawn bowling.
I knew you were going to say lawn bowling.
Lawn bowling's always, it's one of the first ones that comes up. Maybe you want to add a cigar room. Maybe you want to,
that's a good call out.
Maybe you want to expand your staff quarters.
What about a trophy room?
You could have that too. Who am I to say anything? Basically, what you're trying to do is you're trying to gain reputation, gain money, and gather guests so that you can host fancy parties. And guess what? When the Americans come to your parties, they're gossips and they lose you points. And I think it's hilarious. So you are going to be going, there's just kind of little track, and there's going to be different national holidays and building holidays where you can buy more stuff, and you're going to host an activity. Then you can buy something to add. And the Fairchilds, this is who you're ultimately trying to attract. There's a brother and sister, and you can only have one. You can't have both of them, okay? No matter how bad you want them, you can only have one. And they have preference at a time. They have preference. Yeah, this is a classy party.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a classy party. Don't get gross.
They have preferences to the types of activities they like in terms of color.
Yeah.
So it might be they like outdoorsy things, so you want to gain more green activities. And all the different activities that you're collecting have corresponding victory points, and then also actions that will happen.
Yep.
And then in order to do those actions, you have to play out cards. I love this game. Like I said, it's just so unique. It is on BGA if you'd like to try. I'm literally always playing it on BGA. I can't get enough of it. Every time I play it, I'm having the best time. And it's another game where you can try a bunch of different strategies. You could try for, you know, I've even tried to not care about what activities they love and just go all in on like blue and make sure that I flip over all of my tiles or whatever it might be. There's lots of different expansions that add to this. We recently I kickstarted the newest expansion, which has been delivered. And it's one that I haven't played solo, and I really, really need to.
Yeah.
Because I love it so much. I just think it's
Obsession.
So good.
I think Obsession is a perfect case study in a game that has a simplistic mechanism, but just has so much meat around that bone.
Yeah, and it's
That's what she
also
said.
it's also really funny. All of the cards have really funny text on them, and it's really
Obsession
great.
is phenomenal.
Yeah.
My number one game should come as no surprise because it's been my number one game forever, and that is Root. From Leader Games.
Yep.
Root is by far my most played game of all time. I do primarily play digitally. I've only played Root in person a handful of times in full transparency, but still had a blast every time I have. It's just I don't have the game group here to play Root on a consistent basis.
Not great at two.
Root is an asymmetrical war game based around woodland creatures, where each faction has their own objective. There's a ton of factions now. They just released Marauders to the digital implementation of Root, which I'm really excited for. But I don't know what else to say. I've talked about Root a ton. It's been number one on my list forever.
Every year that we've done
and
these
it is
videos.
if you are to come to me and say, Jeff, what is your type of game? And I would just point you to Root and be like, Root is my type of game. I love it. It is a game that invokes so much nonsense and trash talk around the table, which is why I love this so much. I think there's certain games that on this list that I love just for the mechanisms of the game, and there's games like Root that I love for the social dynamic that it invokes. I really only realistically like to play Root with a select group of people. Not that I won't play it with others, but there's reasons why I like playing with that group is because we've established what that table talk is, and we can have that experience, and it's our experience. You know what I mean? I love Root. I could not. I don't know if it's ever gonna move. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't know if it ever will.
That's fair.
And honestly, it's exciting to think that it might, because that just means
Something could be
something is even better than that, and I don't know how that could even exist. But
And my number one game, of course, is also no surprise. It's been my number one game. It was my number one game last year.
Is it Final Girl?
It's Final Girl, of course. And guess what? I don't work for Van Ryder Games anymore, so you can't say nothing about it. Although technically I'm still contracted with them and everything. But it doesn't matter. Final Girl is, to me, my perfect game. It is a solo game, which some people are like, your favorite game? You only play by yourself? You know what? Yeah. Because you can always get a solo game to the table. It is my most played game of all time. And basically, I love horror. I love the theme. I love the trope of the final girl. I love how everything within this game is mix and match. You can play against the Evomorph at Camp Happy Trails, and you can even play as me as a character.
You can.
And you might say that makes me biased, and maybe it does, but it's pretty darn cool.
No, because
I could be a final girl.
You want to know why it's not?
Why?
Because this was your number one game before you were ever a character in the game.
Totally.
So get off your freaking high horse, people.
The point is, I love this game. I love how chaotic it is, because what you're doing is you're playing out a horror movie, and there's some people who might complain that it's really punishing and it's too much luck, but hey, Yeah, Jeff played a very punishing game of it, like extremely so. But listen, if you're in a horror movie, is not everything dependent on luck? Because everybody in horror movies is pretty dumb. You could have a whole plan and then something could just go awry. And like another thing I love about it is how like everything has nods to different Easter eggs, and there's also some really fun stuff. So if you play at Wingard Cottage, one of the items you can get is a blender, and you can shove the blender on the bad guy and blend them and like hit them for like a mass amount of points. And everybody plays differently. It's a perfect game for me. And it also is a game that has such a huge cult following, such a passionate community behind it. And I think that speaks a lot about the game. And it's also a kind of game that invites new people into the hobby who maybe don't play board games, but they love horror games. And I think that's also really cool. So I love Final Girl. I love everything about it. It's no surprise to anyone. I stream it over on Van Ryder's channel. I'll stream it here sometimes. I just did a playthrough of Series 3 not that long ago, and I'm going to keep playing it.
Yeah. I have two things I want to say about Final Girl.
Number one.
One, I remember like when you discovered that game.
It was the most exciting.
How excited you were. Like I remember that being a very profound moment of our experience in the hobby, which is really cool. Yes. And two, like I've played Final Girl one time, and I had objectively the worst possible game of it you could have. It was just like terrible luck. All the bad things that could have happened. Yep. And I remember playing it and being like, man, this sucks.
He's like, you find this fun?
Yeah, and I actively was like, you find this enjoyable? And like, I was like, this is really, really frustrating and annoying. And then after I lost, about 5 minutes later, I was like, I want to play it again. I want to do that again.
I think I know how I can do it better.
Yeah, I think I know what I can do next time. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that, if I can have that bad of an experience playing a game in that moment and then leave it and then still be like, oh, I want to go back and play that. That's something special.
Yeah. And this year, one of our Kickstarter stretch goals was that Jeff is going to play Final Girl. So I think I want you to pick whichever killer you want, and we'll get a location. You could play as me or whatever. And
then I wouldn't want to win.
You'll have incentive. You want to kill me?
Yeah.
I also name all my victims, and usually you're one of them, and you always die. You are constantly a sacrifice. That's part of the fun. You can sacrifice the victims. Anyways, I think
it would be amazing. Really funny if we got some meeples created of all our friends, and those were your victims.
People do that
in
sometimes.
the game.
Yeah. Anyways, those are our top 10 games of all time. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we do have a giveaway courtesy of All Play for an all-in pledge of their upcoming Kickstarter. So remember, that is 3 different games. We have Twinkle Twinkle. We have Waddle. We have Merchants of Andromeda. Okay?
How they enter.
So you are going to enter, number 1, you have to be subscribed. Like the video, and then in the comments below, let us know what your number 1 game of all time is.
Ooh,
okay? I want to know what your number 1 game of all time is. And I have a few other things to say. So this is for an all-in pledge for this Kickstarter. This is going to include all of the upgrades. It is going to include all 3 games. It is going to include any expansions that come with it. It is an all-in pledge. Everything. Now, you can...
All in, all day, all play.
All in, all day, all play. Now, you can enter here, but All Play is also hosting giveaways for this. So it's a week leading up to the Kickstarter. So you can go to their Instagram, and you can apply there, and to their TikTok.
Well, we'll see.
I guess we'll see. But if TikTok is still a thing, you can go to TikTok and do it there. So Instagram for sure, and you can enter in as many of the giveaways as you want. Okay, so just because you enter here doesn't mean you can't enter there. So you have lots of chances to win. All right, so thank you to All Play for doing the giveaway. We love All Play all day. All Play all day. Giveaway. Anyways, that is everything that we have for you today. If you're interested in buying board games like any of the amazing games we talked about today, you should first start by checking your friendly local gaming store. And for us, that is...
The Boardroom Game Cafe.
Heck yeah, it is. And if you like what you see,
please subscribe.
We hope to see you again soon. Now we say goodbye. Goodbye.
There it is.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about what?
You were so official there.
I'm like a newscaster.
Yeah, it was very
This just
too
in.
much. Yeah.
This is Foster the Meeple's Top 10.
Yeah, that was
You heard
too
it
much.
here first.
That was too much.
All right, Jeff, I won't be a newscaster. Apologies for my professionalism. But you know what's not professional?
You had YouTube voice.
Do you know what's not professional? This friggin' background. Which looks ridiculous.
People should complain some more.
I hope more people complain about our plain background.
Yeah.
It's not done.
Yeah.
Really snacky, and I'm going to have to go to the grocery store when I'm hungry. Come home with way too much food.
Yeah.
Healthy food. Okay.
I need to work out too. So do you. Are you going to bike today?
I'm going to walk all around that grocery store like it's my day job.
That doesn't count.
Why not? Fine. Yes, I'll probably try and bike. But I got to buy an outfit first. That'll make me want to bike more. What the heck? Yeah. Okay. Where are we?
6. I'm trying to think of what it's called because it's not. What's
the
his name?
Euphrates. The Trajans. The Targaryens.
Cut all that out.
Was.
I'm not looking.
I know you're not, Jeff. Just let me be me. I played it a bit.